frankly, Bob, I do not understand, or perhaps I've never seen a disconnect like this between the military leadership and the White House on an issue. Admiral Mullen, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, in his hearings for confirmation for another term as Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, made it very clear in his testimony, and as you know, the testimony was really all about this issue, that one, the strategy had been decided last March, that this was a reaffirmation of the strategy. Two, that time was not on our side, that time was critical, that we were not winning, so therefore the sooner we acted to try to reverse, and we can reverse in his view and in mine, the trend that's going on in Afghanistan, that the sooner the better. And what I really don't understand, and I'm sure we'll have more time to talk about this, is why you would tell your general in the field not to send his recommendations for the troop levels that are needed in order to implement a strategy which, according to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, was formulated last March.
The military over time, since we started the fight in Afghanistan and Iraq, has gone from understanding that the center of gravity is not defeat of the enemy forces, but in fact support of the local population. I believe that at this point in the Afghanistan war, even that is inconsequential. We will defeat the enemy forces, we will protect the population, but the center of gravity is not the support of the local population, but the support of the U.S. population. Yeah, it's true, as was mentioned here, I associate myself with the comments of everyone that we're going to need more troops, we're going to need more resources, we're going to need a better strategy. But let's be clear, there are more than sufficient available resources for this fight. The major danger in Afghanistan is not winning, not losing what we call a war of attrition. In a war of attrition, the objective of the enemy is to defeat the other enemy. In a war of exhaustion, which is what we are seeing in Afghanistan, the effort is to tire out the other nation, defeat the other nation's will to fight.
Well, now I think we have an idea of what the President means by a reset, specifically relating to Russia and Iran. And that's what we'll discuss today. I would submit to you that the early returns are not encouraging, that Russia has hurt, not helped our efforts to stop the Iranian nuclear program, that we've conceded too much for too little in the START negotiations, that we've not convincingly interposed any objection to Russian action in places like Georgia, Ukraine, and elsewhere. And just late last week, we caved in to Russia's demand that we scrap missile defense plans in Poland and the Czech Republic. Much of this failure, I believe, is due to a lack of clear-eyed understanding of Russia today. Formulating a policy for relations with Russia should start with an appreciation of Russia's quest for a restoration of its empire. The narrative of Russian foreign policy since the Putin era began, as he put it, is that the fall of the Soviet Union was a historical tragedy, actually the greatest geopolitical catastrophe of the 20th century.
But the overarching view of his foreign policy is of such a dramatic and revolutionary nature that it gives me real concern. I don't think most people yet have focused on just how revolutionary his foreign policy philosophy it is. Over the last 50 years or so, Americans' foreign policy has been devoted to promoting, defending, and securing American values in the world, meaning freedom, free enterprise, democracy, human rights, free trade. These American ideals have been something which we have felt that we are not just a casual bystander to discuss, but that instead we promote them, we defend them, we encourage them in every way we know how. One of the ways that's done is by showing that we have substantial military might, so that other nations recognize that we have we may carry a strong, we may speak softly, but we carry a strong stick. And that's been the focus of our foreign policy for a long time. As I've watched these last 8 months, I sense that there is a view in the Obama administration and from the president himself that rather than being the promoter of democracy and human rights and free enterprise and free trade, that America should instead stand back a bit from our allies and those that have joined with us historically in that fight, and that we should become more of a neutral arbiter, that we should determine who's right in this conflict, the democracy or the autocrat.